0%. Granted, service connected, biopsy confirmed, real as anything, and the check is still $0. Change one word in that same pathology report and the exact same disease pays $552.47 a month. There's a line buried in that code that can take the 30% back from you the week your treatment finally works. There's also one thing in your report that stops it. File that away because we're coming back for it.
Okay, Emma here. And the reason that gap exists is that Barrett's isn't a symptom, it's a tissue. The exact number is 0% for the most common version of this disease. And almost nobody believes me the first time I say it.
Nobody is born knowing what Barrett's even is, so here's the kitchen table version. Years of stomach acid wash up into the esophagus. The lining gives up trying to be esophagus lining and rebuilds itself as something closer to intestine. Wrong tissue, wrong place.
This is Leo, and here's where this is going. It's common. Chronic reflux, the kind a lot of you have carried since your service years, produces Barrett's in about 3% of people, and about 12% once you add another risk factor like being over 50, or male, or carrying extra weight, which describes a lot of us. So it isn't rare. It's the price of a valve that stopped closing.
I'm Erica. Think of it like a callus. Constant friction, and the skin thickens to survive it.
One catch on the callus though, a callus protects you. This one is the dangerous tissue in the room, and it does its damage without hurting at all.
Its own diagnostic code, 7207. That part surprises people.
Yeah, its own code, and then the code turns around and pays most people nothing. No dysplasia on the slide, no stricture in the pipe. The rating is 0%, not denied, rated 0.
But flip that same report to high-grade dysplasia and the schedule pays 30%, $552.47 a month, at the 2026 rates. Same esophagus, same veteran, same Tuesday.
The chat just pushed up the exact question I was going to dodge until scene 3. Someone asks, quote, I have Barrett's from my service-connected reflux. Why did the VA rate it 0%, end quote. That is the whole episode, and we're answering it head on. Before we open the report, one thing. Everything we walked through today, the rating ladders, the forms, the plain English guides, all of it is free at va.professorerica.com. Go take it. Now, Emma is about to tell you you're doing the wrong math on this, and honestly, she's
right, and I'll finish the sentence. You're doing the wrong math because you're pricing a disease. The VA isn't pricing a disease, it's pricing a paragraph. 7207 is 2 rows long. I've read shorter grocery lists. Row 1. Low-grade dysplasia. Row 2, high-grade dysplasia. Done. The entire code with no stricture in the picture.
Don't take our word for it, read the reg. Low-grade dysplasia, 10%. $180.42 a month.
Hold on, what does the VA think it's paying you for there? You feel exactly the same at low grade as you did the day before the biopsy.
Why do you think they pay for a mammogram finding? Same logic. The trend says the tissue is moving in one direction, and the direction is cancer. Low-grade dysplasia means the cells have started misbehaving. They're not malignant, they're auditioning. The VA is compensating the risk you now permanently carry, plus the surveillance scopes you'll live on for the rest of your life, and that is genuinely unusual for this schedule, which almost never pays for a risk.
High grade, 30%. $552.47. One check, one veteran. Let's add the family.
A spouse adds $65 at the 30% tier. A child adds $49. So $552.47 plus $65. Call it $620. No. $666.47 exactly, with a spouse and one child. Run it out, and that's just under $8,000 a year. I'm going to call it the $8,000 sentence because that is literally what it is. One sentence typed by a pathologist who has never met you.
You said dysplasia 4 times now. What is dysplasia in one sentence for the person who just got the letter?
Cells that look wrong under a microscope and are not cancer yet.
Not quite, you said look wrong. The pathologist has to say it in a grade, low or high, in the report itself. If she writes negative for dysplasia, you get nothing, no matter how wrong the tissue looks to you. The word has to be on the page.
Fair, both things are true. Only one of them caches. One door first, you qualify for this path if your reflux is already service connected. This is not for you if it isn't, not yet.
Here is the honest boundary on this whole episode, and I want to be blunt about it. If the VA has never granted you anything for reflux, or for a hiatal hernia, or for anything else that pours acid into that pipe, then there is nothing here for you yet, because there is nothing to hang the Barretts on. Nothing on this ladder pays a veteran who hasn't walked through that door first. So if that's you, the claim you filed this month is the reflux claim, not this one, and the Barrett's waits its turn behind it.
The disease is one thing. The paperwork is another. Different animals entirely.
Different animals. Right.
Quick, honest ask while we are here. If this has been worth your time so far, hit like, then subscribe and ring the bell. I know everyone asks, but this one is free, and it is how a small channel like this actually grows.
So let's go read the slide, because that is where this rating gets decided. Not in the exam room. Not in the C&P interview. On a piece of glass, in a lab, by somebody who will never learn your name.
This next part is the one people rewind. Take it slow with us and wait until scene 6, because there is a line in this code that takes the whole thing back. A question came in that sits right on top of this one. Word for word, my scope report says Barrett's. My biopsy says no dysplasia. Do I have anything to claim? Leo?
You do have something, and today it pays 0. Both of those are true at once, and I'll show you why with a layaway plan. The layaway counter is the rating schedule. Your biopsy slide is the payment book. Dysplasia is the last installment, the word that releases the item. And that salmon-colored patch the doctor saw on the scope is the item sitting behind the counter, yours and not yours, while nothing at all moves in your bank account.
It's a mail-in rebate then. You bought the thing, you have the box, and until somebody mails the receipt, nobody sends you a cent. But what's the cover charge when the item is a disease you never asked for?
2 cases, 1 rule. What's the same in layaway and in a rebate? The thing you have is not what pays you. The proof that you have it is.
One catch though, and it's not like layaway at all. You don't get your money back if the item never comes off the shelf. There's nothing banked. Nothing waiting for you.
Plain version. Barrett's with no dysplasia and no stricture pay 0 no matter how many years you have carried it.
Goblet cells, the hallmark the pathologist hunts for, and it's the reason the report can say Barrett's at all. Intestine cells sitting in an esophagus where they have no business being. She finds them, she writes Barrett's. She doesn't find them, you don't have it.
The word on the slide rule. Everything today hangs off it. You know the version of this story we keep running into?
The reflux guy who finally got scoped? Go.
Call him Dale Kirby, 50-something, Army. 20-odd years on a daily acid pill he stopped noticing. Gets scoped. Hears the word cancer somewhere in that room and drives home terrified.
Files immediately, because who wouldn't?
Files immediately. Comes back 0%. He is furious. 18 months later, the next scope comes back high-grade dysplasia, 30%. $552.47 a month.
Low grade, then high grade, then cancer. A crawl, not a leap, and the thing everybody gets wrong about that letter is the word itself. Dysplasia is not cancer. Every one of those steps is
Leo, stop there. Is dysplasia cancer, or isn't it?
a step you can get caught on. It is not cancer. Nobody gives you that answer on the drive home, and it's the one you need. The trend says about 0.12% a year make that last jump.
Say that number again, slowly.
0.12% a year. Roughly 1 in 800. It's a small number in any one year, and a large number across a life.
Ask for the pathology report itself, not the portal summary, which will say Barrett's and stop. The report. The grade is in there, on a line, and that line is your rating.
Cancer, and the schedule stops playing. Note 1, 7343, 100%. Both things are true. Small risk, 100% code.
Dale's answer on a Tuesday was 0. 18 months later, the same esophagus was worth $552.47 a month. Erica, you've read this code closer than anyone. What splits the room? The question we get more than any other is this. My biopsy says Barrett's. Which code do I claim under? Erica says 7207 today off the lab report. Emma says that code is a trap for most veterans. Hold the number 19 while they go. Before this video ends, it decides which rulebook grades your claim.
Claim it. Today, the biopsy already exists. No dilatation, no choking, no proving you can't swallow a steak. Low grade 10%, high grade 30%. It's the only place in the schedule where a lab result alone writes the check. I mean, the only place where it writes the check without you first proving you can't eat.
Yeah, and for most veterans with Barrett's, that lab result says negative for dysplasia, which means Erica just filed a claim worth $0. Look, the route that actually climbs is 7203, the stricture code. 10% for a documented stricture needing daily medication, 30 if it recurs and needs dilatation up to twice a year, 50 at 3 or more dilatations a year, or a steroid dilatation, or a stent, 80 with aspiration or substantial weight loss plus surgery or a feeding tube, 7207 stops flat at 30. The ceiling is my whole argument.
Before either of you answers that, here's a case neither of you has touched. What about the veteran already service-connected for reflux sitting at 0% under the new criteria?
That veteran is exactly my point. Reflux alone now pays nothing. Daily pill, burning chest, no stricture, 0. So his biopsy is the only paper in that file that pays. Waiting for the pipe to scar isn't a plan, it's a...
Erica, stop there. For half of them it already scarred.
It's a gamble. And the other half sit at 0 for years. Read note 4. Recurrent means the stricture won't hold its diameter 4 weeks after they open it. That's a high bar.
Okay, that one's real.
Emma, that's aimed straight at you. Answer the note 4 problem directly.
Well, I'll give her the timing. If your report says high grade today, file 7207 this week, and I'm not going to argue you out of $8,000 a year. That's one. Here's the second, and it costs me more. The stricture ladder can pay you nothing for years while you are actually being dilated because the notes are written that tight. What I don't give up is the ceiling. The veteran who can't get a chicken breast down and gets stretched 3 times a year is a 50% veteran, and no pathology report on earth was ever going to tell him that.
50%. Where does that number come from? Say the source out loud.
38 CFR 4.114, diagnostic code 7203, dilatation 3 or more times per year. The exact number is $1,132.90 a month. It's printed.
So bottom line, Barrett's always pays something.
No dysplasia, no stricture, 0. That settles it.
Then I take the correction. Here's my verdict, and it's a split source straight out of 4.114. If your report already reads dysplasia, the smart play is Erica's route. File 7207 this week. If it reads negative and food is sticking, what I'd actually do is Emma's route because it's the only one that ever pays you. Count the dilatations. Get all of them in writing. And both of those veterans start the same way, chained to a service-connected reflux. 2 routes, 1 esophagus.
Right code, right report.
Two routes, and both of them start at the same door. So let's go stand at that door because almost nobody gets served without it. The way the VA calculates, forget the calculation, start with the chain. Barrett's is almost never service connected on its own. Nobody develops it in a duty station. It grows out of years of reflux, and if that reflux is service connected, then Barrett's rides in on its back.
Secondary service connection, 3.310, subsection A.
The regulation is one sentence long, which is rare enough that I want to say it out loud. If one condition grows out of another one you're already rated for, the new one gets service connected too. Done. One doorway, one sentence. Your reflux is service connected. The Barrett's grew out of the reflux. So the Barrett's is service connected, and nobody gets to argue that you didn't have it in uniform because nobody ever claimed you did.
3 things then, and they're the only 3. 1. A current diagnosis, which the biopsy already is. 2. The service-connected condition, the reflux. 3. The medical link between them. Number 3, though. There are 3 ways a doctor can write it, and only one of them survives errata.
The nexus letter, written, signed, and specific.
A nexus letter is what exactly to somebody who has never held one?
Think of it like a load path. The structural engineer in my house would call it the one member you cannot leave out.
That sentence has to say a particular thing, so hear the shape of it. The veteran's Barrett's esophagus is at least as likely as not caused by his chronic service-connected reflux disease. At least as likely as not. A rater is trained to look for exactly that phrase. If the letter says the Barrett's is merely consistent with reflux or associated with it, that's a maybe, and a maybe loses. Everything else in the claim is decoration if that one member isn't in there. Which? An engineer. Of course it's an engineer. I've been trying to learn one song on guitar for 8 months and I still can't get the bridge of it.
8 months. One song.
Okay, we're 3 exits past the topic. Back to the load-bearing member. The nexus letter is the sentence that says the reflux caused the Barrett's, and without it, a rater has no legal path to grant. Say it back to me because we just wandered away from it.
Fine, but when I nail that bridge, you're all hearing it.
We'll be at 50% dysphagia by then, and it'll be a mercy.
Now the trap, and it's a real one. You cannot get paid twice for the same swallowing problem. 4.14 calls it pyramiding. The evaluation of the same disability under various diagnoses is to be avoided. So if the reflux, the hernia, and the Barrett's are all being rated off the same stricture, you get 1 evaluation for it, not 3.
Yeah, sit with that one.
But dysplasia is not a swallowing problem. It's a cell finding, different manifestation, different evidence, and that is precisely why 7207 exists as its own code and not as a footnote under reflux.
The number 19 I asked you to hold. May 19, 2024. That's the day the whole digestive schedule was rewritten, and it's why your buddy from the smoking area got rated for reflux on symptoms alone in 2022, and you can't. The old code paid on heartburn and regurgitation. The new one pays on strictures.
Already rated, breathe. 20 years in place and they can't cut it except for fraud. Any reduction gets proposed in writing first, with 60 days to answer.
One more thing to do tonight, and it takes 10 minutes. Form 210966. The intent to file. It locks your effective date while you go chase the nexus letter, and back pay runs from that date, not from the day the letter finally lands.
60 days, 20 years, 10 minutes. Those are the only 3 clocks in this claim. Cynthia promised them a line that takes the 30% back, and I want to hear it in the reg's own words because I don't think people will believe us otherwise.
Note 2. Under 7207. If the condition is resolved via surgery, radiofrequency ablation, or other treatment, rate residuals as esophagus, stricture of.
Say what that means in the kitchen table version.
Your doctor burns out the bad cells, it works. The next biopsy comes back clean. And the word that was paying you is gone off the page. My promised line from the top. Cured and back to 0. Residuals though. That word is coming back in 90 seconds, and it is worth more than the one you just lost.
Before we take that apart, this is worth someone who knows how these reports read, so I'm getting one on the line. Wanjiru Kamal knows how the VA reads a Barrett's pathology report cold, and she has heard this question more times than the four of us combined. Wanjiru, we have a veteran who was just told his ablation worked. Is that good news or a pay cut?
People say cured like cured is one thing. Cured of the dysplasia is one thing. Cured of the esophagus you now have is a completely different thing, and only one of those is what the schedule is actually rating.
So what happens to his file the day the clean biopsy lands?
I won't guess at his file. Not without reading it, and neither should anyone else. What I can give you is the pattern. Ablation is safe and most people sail through it. But roughly 1 in 15, about 6 or 7%, ends up with scar tissue that narrows the tube. That narrowing is a
Wait. Back up to the scar tissue.
stricture. That is where I was going. The scar narrows the tube, and a stricture is exactly what 7203 pays on. So the short version.
The residual is the claim.
It depends on exactly this, whether anybody wrote it down. A dilatation that happened and never made it into a note did not happen, as far as errata is concerned. Thanks for having me on. If I leave you with one thing, it's that the treatment and the claim are two different conversations, and the only bridge between them is the note somebody types afterward.
Wanjiru, thank you. Go get some rest.
Stop right there. That's my lane. To borrow Erica's phrase, the word on the slide walks out and a number takes its place, and the number is a count. Dilatations per year. 1 ladder, 4 rungs, and here it is, drawn out. 10% if a documented stricture needs daily medication. 30 if it recurs and gets stretched up to twice a year. 50 at 3 or more stretches a year. Or a steroid dilatation. Or a stent.
80 is higher than the Barrett's code ever went, and nobody sees that coming, so sit with the shape of it a second. The disease that scared you is worth 30% at its very worst. The scar the cure leaves behind can be worth 80. Same esophagus, same veteran, and the schedule pays more for the damage than it ever paid for the danger. The trend says that's not an accident either. The rewrite pushed this whole schedule toward what a doctor can measure and away from what a veteran can feel.
80 at the top, where you're aspirating or losing serious weight and they've done surgery or put in a feeding tube. Not quite the outcome anybody wants. Still the ladder.
Which stretches count, though? Because a veteran who gets scoped every year and dilated once is...
Right question, note 4. It counts when the stricture won't hold 4 weeks after they open it. Not any dilatation, that one. 1 dilatation and a happy esophagus? Nothing. Safest thing I can tell you. I mean, safest if his notes are clean.
Here is where this is going, and it's the one thing on this list you can go do without anyone's permission. Walk out of every scope holding a copy of the report, not the summary. The report. If the words stricture, dilatation, or dysphagia belong in your chart, make somebody put them there.
Nobody is born knowing that the reward for a cure can be a pay cut. I've stopped trying to make that sound reasonable.
Then stop trying. Reasonable was never on the table. Documented is.
One thing you're walking out with. Go.
No dysplasia, no stricture, 0%. Believe it before the letter tells you.
Get the pathology report, not the summary. Next time out, we're on the reflux code itself, and there's a hidden way it pays a veteran who has never once been dilated.
That's the episode.
Tonight, go find your last biopsy result and read the grade line. 10 minutes, and you'll know whether you're a 0 or an $8,000 sentence.
For the veteran whose food sticks, I still say the ladder. The ceiling's the ceiling. My answer stays.
If this cleared up one line of that report for you, hit like and subscribe. Every one of them keeps this series going. Here's my question for you. Did anyone ever read your biopsy grade out loud to you, or did you find it yourself? Go pull that report tonight. This is Cynthia. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week.
I keep waiting to find something to critique, Cynthia. I have given up. 9 out of 10. This is Professor Erica. Thanks for watching and signing off.